Chapter 11 The Dark Castle. When the meal, which was pigeon pie, cold ham, salad, and cakes, had been brought, and all had drawn their chairs upon the table and begun, the knight continued. You must understand, friends, that I know nothing of who I was and whence I came into this dark world. I remember no time when I was not dwelling, as now, at the court of this all but heavenly queen. But my thought is that she saved me from some evil enchantment, and brought me hither of her exceeding bounty. Honest Frogfoot, your cup is empty, suffer me to refill it. And this seemed the likelier to me, because even now as I am bound by a spell, for which my lady alone can free me, every night there comes an hour when my mind is most horribly changed, and after my mind, my body. First I became furious and wild, and would rush upon my dearest friends to kill them if I were not bound, and soon after that I turned into the likeness of a great serpent, hungry, fierce, and deadly. Sir, be pleased to take another breast of pigeon, I entreat you. So they tell me, and certainly speak truth, for the lady says the same. I myself know nothing of it. For when my hour is past, I awake forgetful of all that vile fit and proper shape and sound mind, saving that I am somewhat wearied. Little lady, eat one of those honey cakes which were brought from some barbarous land in the far south of the world. Now, the Queen's Majesty knows at her art that I should be freed from this enchantment when once she has made the king of the land an overworld and sets its crown upon my head. The land is already chosen in the very place of our breaking out. Here earthmen have worked day and night digging a way beneath it, and have gone so far and so high that they tunnel not a score of feet beneath the very grass on which updwellers of that country walk. It would not be very soon now that those uplanders' fate will come upon them. She herself is at the diggings tonight, and I expect a message from her. Then the thin roof of earth which keeps from my kingdom will be broken through, and with her to guide me and 1,000 earthmen at my back, I shall ride forth in arms, fall suddenly upon our enemies, slay their chief men, cast down their strong places, and doubtless be their king crowned with 24 hours. It's a bit rough luck on them, isn't it? Said Scrub. Thou art a lad of wondrous quick-working wit, exclaimed the knight, for on my honor I never thought of it before. I see your meaning. He looked slightly, very slightly troubled for a moment or two, but his face soon cleared, and he broke out with another of his loud laughs. Ha! By fie on gravity! Isn't that the most comical and ridiculous thing in the world, to think of them all going about their business and never dreaming that under their peaceful fields and floors, only fathom down, there is a great army ready to break upon them like a fountain, and they never have to suspect it. Why, they think themselves, when once the first smart of their defeat is over, can hardly choose but laugh at the thought. I don't think it's funny at all, said Jill. I think you're a wicked tyrant. What? said the knight, still laughing and patting her on the head in quite an infuriating fashion. Is our little maid a deep politician? But never fear, sweetheart, in ruling land I shall do all but the counsel of my lady, who will by then be my queen too. Her word shall be my law, even as my word will be law to the people we have conquered. Where I come from, said Jill, who was disliking him more every minute, they don't think much of men who are bossed about by their wives. Shan't thou think otherwise when thou hast a man of thine own, I warrant you, said the knight, apparently thinking this was funny. But my lady, it is another matter. I am well content to live by her word, who has already saved me from 1,000 daggers. No mother has taken pains more tenderly for her child than the Queen's grace has for me. Why, look you, amid all her cares and business, she rideth out with me in the overworld many time and oft, to accustom to my eyes to sunlight. And then I must go fully armed with visor down, so no man may see my face, and I must speak to no one. for she has found out by art magical that this would hinder my deliverance from the grievous enchantment I lie under. Is that not a lady worthy of a man's whole worship? Sounds a very nice lady indeed, said Puddleglum in a voice which meant exactly the opposite. They were thoroughly tired of the night's talk before they had finished supper. Puddleglum was thinking, I wonder what game that witch is really playing with this young fool. Scrub was thinking, he's a great baby, really, tied to that woman's apron strings. He's a sap. And Jill was thinking, he's the silliest, most conceited, selfish pig I've met for a long time. But when the meal was over, the night's mood changed. There was no more laughter about him. Friends, he said, my hour is now very near. I am ashamed that you should see me, yet I dread being left alone. They will come in presently and bind my hand and foot to yonder chair. Alas, so it must be, for my theory, they tell me, I will destroy all I could reach. I say, said Scrub, I'm awfully sorry about this enchantment of yours, but what will those fellows do to us when they come to bind you? They talk of putting us in prison, and we don't like all those dark places very much. We'd much rather stay here till you're better, if we may. It is well thought of, said the knight, but by custom none but the queen herself remains with me in this evil hour. Such is her tender care for my honour that she would not willingly suffer any ears but her own to hear the words I utter in that frenzy. But I could not easily persuade my attendant gnomes that you should be left with me, and I think that I hear soft feet even now upon the stairs. Go through yonder door, it leads into my other apartments, and there either await my coming when they have unbound me, or, if you will, return and sit with me in my ravings. They followed his directions and passed out of the room by a door which they had not yet seen open. It brought them, they were pleased to see, not into darkness, but into a lighted corridor. They tried various doors and found, what they very badly needed, water for washing and even a looking-glass. He never offered us a wash before supper, said Jill, drying her face. Selfish, self-centered pig. Are we going to watch the enchantment, or shall we stay here? Said Scrub. Stay here, I vote, said Jill. I'd much rather not see. But she felt a little inquisitive all the same. Now, go back, said Puddleglum. We may pick up some information, and we need all we can get. I'm sure that the queen is a witch and an enemy, and those earthmen will knock us on the head as soon as they look at us. There's a stronger smell of danger and lies and magic and treason about all this land than I've ever smelled before. We need to keep our eyes and ears open. And they went back down the corridor and gently pushed the door open. It's all right, said Scrub, meaning that there were no earthmen about. When they all come back into the room where they had supped, the main door was shut now, concealing the curtain behind which they first entered. The knight was seated in a curious silver chair to which he was bound by his ankles, his knees, his elbows, his wrists, and his waist. There was sweat on his forehead, and his face was quickly filled with anguish. Come in, friends, he said, glancing quickly up. The fit is not yet upon me. Make no noise, for I'm told that this prime chamberlain that you were in bed. Now, I can feel it coming. Quick, listen while I am the master of myself. When the fit is upon me, it might well be that I should beg and implore you with entreaties and threatening to loosen my bonds. They say I do. I shall call upon you all that is most dear and most dreadful. But do not listen to me. Harden your hearts and stop your ears, for while I am bound you are safe. But if once I were up and out of this chair, then first would come my theory, and after that, he shuddered, the change into the loathsome serpent. There's no fear of losing you, said Puddleglum. We've no wish to meet wild men nor serpents either. I should think not, said Scrub and Jill together. All the same, said Puddleglum in a whisper. Don't let's be too sure. Let's be on our guard. We've muffled everything else, you know. He'll be cunning. I shouldn't wonder once he gets started. Can we trust one another? Do we promise that whatever he says we won't touch those chords? Whatever he says. Rather, said Scrub. There's nothing in the world he can say or do that will make me change my mind, said Jill. Hush, something's happening, said Puddleglum. The knight was moaning. His face was as pale as putty, and he writhed in his bonds, and whether because she was sorry for him or for some other reason, Jill thought he looked a nicer sort of man than he looked before. Ah, he groaned, enchantments, enchantments. The heavy, tangled, cold, clammy web of evil magic. Buried alive, dragged down under the earth, down into the sooty blackness. How many years is it? Have I lived 10 years or 1,000 years in this pit? Maggot men all around me. Oh, have mercy. Let me out. Let me go back. Let me feel the wind and see the sky. There used to be a little pool. When you looked down into it, you could see the trees going upside the water, all green, and below them, the very deep, the blue sky. He'd been speaking in a low voice. Now he looked up, fixed his eyes upon them, and said loud and clear, Quick! I am sane now! Every night I am sane! If only I could get out of this enchanted chair, I would last. I should be a man again. But every night they bind me, so every night my chance is gone. But you are not enemies. I am not your prisoners. Quick, cut these cords. Stand fast, sturdy, said Puddleglum to the two children. I beseech you to hear me, said the knight, forcing himself to speak calmly. Have they told you that if I am released to this chair, I shall kill you and become a serpent? I see by your faces they have. It is a lie. It is at this hour that I am in my right mind. It is at this the rest of the day that I am enchanted. You are not earthmen nor witches. Why should you be on their side? Of your courtesy, cut my bonds. Steady, 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 said the three travelers to one another. Oh, you have hearts of stone, said the knight. Believe me, you look upon a wretch who has suffered almost more than any mortal heart can bear. What more have I done to you that you should side with my enemies and keep me in such miseries? And the moments are slipping past. Now you can save me. When this hour has passed, I shall be witless again. The toy lapdog, nay, more like the pawn and tool of the most devilish sorceress that ever planned the woe of men. In this night of all nights, when she is away, you take me from the chance that will never come again. This is dreadful. I too wish we'd stay away until it's over, said Jill. Steady, said Puddleglum. The prisoner's voice was now rising in a shriek. Let me go, I say! Give me my sword! My sword, once I am free, I shall take revenge upon earthmen and Overland and will talk for 1,000 years. That Underland will talk of for 1,000 years. Now the frenzy is beginning, said Scrub. I hope those nuts are tight all right. Yes, said Puddleglum. He's twice his natural strength if he got free now, and I'm not clever with my sword. He'd get us both, I shouldn't wonder, and then Pole on her own would be left to tackle the snake. The prisoner was now straining his bonds that they cut into risk and angles. Beware, he said. One night I did break them. But the witch was there that time. You will not have her to help you tonight. Free me now, and I am your friend. I am your mortal enemy else. Cunning, isn't he? Said Puddleglum. Once and for all, said the prisoners, I adjure you to set me free. By all fears and all loves, by bright skies of Overland, and by the great line, by Aslan himself, I charge you. Oh, cried the three travelers as though they had been hurt. It's the sign, said Puddleglum. It was the words of the sign, said Scrub more cautiously. Oh, what are we to do? It was a dreadful question. What had been the use of promising one another that they would not on any account set the knight free, if they were now to do so the very first thing that happened to call the name that they really cared about? On the other hand, what had been the use of learning the signs if they weren't going to obey them? Yet could Aslan really meant them to unbind anyone, even a lunatic who asked them in his name? Could it be a mere accident? Or how, if the Queen of Underland knew about the signs and had made the knight learn them simply in order to entrap them? But then, supposing this was the real sign, they had muffed the real lever. They dared muff this more. Oh, if only we knew. I think we do now. You think everything will come right if we untie him? Said Scrub. I don't know about that, said Puddleglum. You see, Aslan didn't tell Pole what happened. He only told her what to do. That fellow will be the death of us once he's up, I shouldn't wonder. But that doesn't let us off following the sign. They all looked at one another with bright eyes. It was a sickening moment. "All right," said Jill suddenly. "Let's get it over with. Goodbye, everyone." They all shook hands. The knight was screaming by now, and there was foam on his cheeks. "Come on, Scrub," said Puddleglum. He and Scrub drew their swords and went over to the captive. "In the name of Aslan," they said, and began methodically cutting cords. The instant the prisoner was free, he crossed the room in a single bound, seized his own sword, which had been taken from him and laid on the table, and drew it. "You first!" he cried, and fell upon the silver chair. That must have been a good sword. The silver gave way before its edge like string, and in a few moments a few twisted fragments shining on the floor were all that was left. But as the chair broke, there came from it a bright flash, a sound like thunder, and, for one moment, a loathsome smell. "Lie there, vile engine of sorcery," he said, "lest your mistress should ever use you for another victim." He turned and surveyed the rescuers. And something was wrong, whatever it was. And the something that was wrong, whatever it was, had vanished from his face. "What?" he cried, turning to Puddleglum. "Do I see before me a Marshwiggle? A real, live, honest, Narnian Marshwiggle?" "Oh, so you have heard of Narnia after all," said Jill. "Had I forgotten it when I was under the spell?" asked the knight. "Well, that and all other bedevilments. Well, that and all other bedevilments are over now. You may well believe that I know Narnia, for I am really Prince of Narnia, and Caspian the Great King is my father." "Your Royal Highness," said Puddleglum, sinking on a knee, and the children did the same. "We have come hither for no other end than to seek you." "And who are you, my other deliverers?" said the Princess Scrub and Jill. "We were sent by Aslan himself from beyond the world's end to seek your highness," said Scrub. "I am Eustace, who sailed with him to the island of Ramandu." "I owe the three of you greater debt than I can ever pay," said Prince Brilliant. "But my father, is he yet alive?" "He sailed east again before we left Narnia, my lord," said Puddleglum. "But your highness must consider that the king is very old. It is 10 to 1 his majesty must die on the voyage." "He is old, you say? How long then have I been in the power of the witch?" "It has been more than 10 years since your highness was lost in the woods at the north side of Narnia." 10 years, said the prince, drawing his hand across his face to rub the past. "Yes, I believe you, for now that I am myself, I can remember that enchanted life, though while I was enchanted I could not remember my true self. And now, my dear friends, but wait, I can hear their feet. Does it not sicken a man, that padding, woolly tread? Faugh! On the stairs! Lock the door, boy, or stay. I have a better thought than that. I will fool these earthmen, if Aslan gives me the wit. Take your cue from me." He walked resolutely to the door and flung it wide open.